Dear students, now let us start a new lesson, statistics. In statistics, in your earlier classes, you have studied about data. You know about the types of data, that is primary data and secondary data. And you know to organize the data in a table, that is called frequency distribution table. In frequency distribution table, there are two types: grouped frequency distribution table and ungrouped frequency distribution table. Recall it. And you know the graphical representation of data. You learnt bar graph, histogram, frequency polygon in your 9th standard. And you know about the measures of central tendency. Measures of central tendency means the value which measures the center of the set of values is called measures of central tendency. There are three common measures of central tendency. They are mean, median and mode. You know to find mean, median and mode for ungrouped data. Now, you are going to learn to find mean, median, mode for group data. Now, let us extend our ideas about finding mean, median and mode for group data. Let us start with mean. Mean is also called average. What do you mean by mean or average? The mean of observation is the sum of the values of all the observation divided by the total number of observations. Sum of the observations divided by the total number of observation is called mean or average. That is, mean is equal to sum of observations divided by number of observations. This you have studied in 9th standard. And you know to find the mean for ungrouped data. Now, let us recall it. If x1, x2, x3 and so on till xn, these are the observations, and with their frequencies f1, f2, f3 up to fn respectively. F1 is the frequency of x1, f2 is the frequency of x2, f3 is the frequency of x3 and so on. Fn is the frequency of xn. What do you mean by frequency? The number of times the particular score occurs is called frequency. Here, frequency of x1 is f1, means x1 occurs f1 times. Frequency of x2 is f2, that means x2 occurs f2 times. Frequency of x3 is f3, that means x3 occurs f3 times and so on. Xn occurs fn times. Now, to find the mean, the formula is sum of the observations divided by number of observations. To find the sum of observations, what we have to do? We have to multiply the observations with their frequencies. Now, x1 occurs f1 times. So, sum is f1 x1, that is, we have to multiply frequency with observation. Multiply the observation with its frequency. So, f1 into x1 is f1 x1, then x2 into f2 is f2 x2, x3 into f3 is f3 x3 and xn into fn is fn xn. Now, to find the sum of all the observations, we have to find the sum of f1 x1, f2 x2, f3 x3 and up to fn xn. This is the sum of all the observations. f1 x1 plus f2 x2 plus f3 x3 plus up to fn xn. This is the sum of all the observations, and if you want the number of observations, you have to find the sum of frequencies. If you find the sum of frequencies, then you will get number of observations, that is f1 plus f2 plus f3 up to fn is the number of observations. So, mean is equal to sum of observations divided by number of observations, that is sum of observations here is f1 x1 plus f2 x2 plus f3 x3 plus up to fn xn divided by number of observations. Number of observations is f1 plus f2 plus f3 up to fn. Do you remember the symbol to represent this sum? There is a Greek symbol to represent summation or sum. The Greek symbol to represent sum is sigma, and the symbol to represent mean is x bar. So, x bar is equal to f1 x1 plus f2 x2 plus f3 x3 up to fn xn divided by f1 plus f2 plus f3 up to fn, and the Greek symbol to represent summation, that is sum, is sigma. So, f1 x1 plus f2 x2 plus f3 x3 up to fn xn, we can represent this as sigma fi xi. What is I here? Here I varies from 1 to n. The value of I varies from 1 to n. N is the number of scores. Number of observations is n. The value of I varies from 1 to n, and f1 plus f2 plus f3 up to fn, we represent this as sigma fi, where the value of I varies from 1 to n. Here also value of I varies from 1 to n. If you know that value of I varies from 1 to n, we can write this briefly as sigma fi xi divided by sigma fi, and you should know the value of I varies from 1 to n. Briefly we can write like this. So, the formula to find the mean is x bar is equal to sigma fi xi divided by sigma fi. This is the formula to find the mean.